As the world discovers more and more about head trauma and mental illness, it's becoming more evident just how much of an effect concussions and other injuries have on the human brain. While some wrestlers develop mental illness as a result of their wrestling career, there are some who are born with them. Here are 10 wrestlers who suffered from mental disorders. Luna Vachon, multiple. Suffering from bipolar disorder and manic depression, Luna Vachon overcame her mental illnesses and had a highly successful career in Japan as well as WWE. A series of horrible accidents in retirement, though, was too much for Vachon. In 2009, her home burned down with all of her wrestling memorabilia. A little less than a year later, Vachon was found dead in her mother's home as a result of a drug overdose. Bret Hart, depression. The late 90s and early 2000s were the absolute worst years of Bret Hart's life. It all started with the Montreal Screwjob in 1997. 2 years later, his brother Owen would tragically fall to his death under WWE's watch at Over the Edge 1999. On top of all that, Hart would suffer a stroke in 2002. He also lost both his parents in the span of 2 years. Is it any wonder why the Hitman would suffer from depression? Alexa Bliss, anorexia. The only current WWE superstar to make this list, Bliss is one of several NXT success stories. In fact, her story is more incredible than most casual fans know. Like several other girls in high school, Bliss suffered from anorexia. How bad was it? Bliss lost 30 pounds in 6 weeks. Even worse was her heart rate, which fell to a staggering 28 beats per minute. Bliss fought back though and beat her sickness to regain control of her life, eventually winding up in WWE after her cheerleading career ended. Jake Roberts, depression. For the longest time, it seemed as if Jake Roberts was destined to be the next wrestling tragedy. Once a world-renowned superstar, Roberts slowly became the butt of everyone's jokes and was considered toxic to the wrestling industry. All of this was before DDP came around. The relentlessly positive Page made it his mission to get the Snake his life back. Through the help of his DDP yoga program, Roberts finally beat his addiction and depression. X-Pac, depression. The spiraling saga of Sean Waltman seemed like it was going to end in tragedy. The former tag team champion's life turned from bad to worse when he left WWE and found himself overcome with drug and alcohol addictions. These would combine to form his depression, the height of which was an attempt at suicide in 2008. It was at that point where his friend Kevin Nash tracked him down and brought him to a psychiatric rehab center in Houston, where Waltman finally got his life back together. Randy Savage, OCD. On camera, we knew that there was something a little off about the character Macho Man Randy Savage. What fans may not have known though is that the real man Randy Poffo actually did suffer from a mental illness. Stories of Savage's obsessive-compulsive disorder are numerous. There's the story of him using flashcards with Ricky Steamboat to plan out their WrestleMania 3 match and locking Miss Elizabeth inside dressing rooms so nobody would socialize with her. The nickname Macho Madness has never been more apt. Chris Kanyon, bipolar disorder. Not a big star in the wrestling business, Chris Kanyon was nevertheless well liked by most people who have spoken about the man. Later on in his life, Kanyon would be diagnosed with bipolar disorder. If that wasn't stressful enough, Kanyon was a closeted gay man for nearly his entire life. His mental illness led to a suicide attempt in 2003 and another in 2010, the second one of which took his life at the age of 40. DDP. Anybody who has listened to an interview with DDP or even worked out using DDP yoga will know that Diamond Dallas Page is always bursting with energy, and there's a reason for this. From a young age, DDP suffered from ADHD. This illness, combined with his dyslexia, left him unable to read a book even into his adulthood. And despite that 1-2 combo of a disadvantage, DDP overcame this and became a successful legend in the wrestling business. Sean O'Haire. Because of WWE's buyout of WCW, the company absorbed several contracts of lesser-known WCW talent. Sean O'Haire was one of them. After his WWE career fizzled out, O'Haire took to kickboxing for a period of time but would find himself on the wrong side of the law in retirement. O'Haire was twice arrested for choking his girlfriend. It was ultimately unveiled that he suffered from major depressive disorder and took his own life in 2014. The Rock. Completely down on his luck and ready to give up at the age of 23, it's very possible that if depression had its way with Dwayne Johnson, the world would have never been blessed with The Rock. Fresh out of the University of Miami, Johnson was passed up by the NFL and then subsequently cut from the Calgary Stampeders. Johnson was prepared to give up and then decided that he needed a new direction, a calling which led him to pro wrestling. And well, we thank God for that. And that's it for our list. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to The Sportster for more informative videos. Until next time.